And also please interrupt me by asking a question if you have your mic on, so you can ask your questions, or if you don't have access to the mic or you didn't connect it with the mic, you can just put your question into the public chat. Great. So one of the questions that your friend asked was about the measuring systems, how we can change the uniting systems. So in order to change the uniting system, you need to change those in utilities. In order to access the utilities, what you need to do, you need to go to the File, Utilities, and you would be able to create a custom default and change that. Or, as I mentioned, that there's different ways in the software you can use. In terms of interface, you can go to the menu, File, and you would be able to go to the utilities and also the custom defaults. So once you're in the custom default, the easy way of doing that, you would be able to change your unit system from the metric to the English. Also, if you go to the modeling, and let me see, modeling or gateway. If you go to the gateway, then you should have a section for the units here. Oh yeah, unit types and measures. Then you would be able to see all of those measurements that you would be able to use or change if you want to change those. Also, while I'm here, let me show you something else as well. In the modeling, do you remember that every time I wanted to just sketch something, I used to get an automatic measurement and I could easily untick it. But every time you open the software, it still is the same thing. You still activate the automatic measurements. So you can come here and go to, let me see, where was it? With the, I guess, yeah, if you go to sketching, if you go to the infer constraint and dimensions, and here automatically you can switch off the automatic constraints. Also, you can go to the dimensioning and you would be able to switch the continuous automatic dimensioning in design applications. So you would be able to do that. But I'm happy to go ahead with the default because I always want to tell you how the automatic works and how the manual measuring works. Okay, so once we open the softwares and we create a new model, so what we need to do, we need to go to the sketch because we want to do a 2D sketch. We need to choose the plane that we want to have the sketch in. I will go with the X and Y one, the default one, but if I want to go ahead with the different planes, I can do that. I will just click OK. Great. So if you remember, the first thing we covered last time was line. So if you want to just draw a line, you click on the line. Just click once as the start point whenever you want it. And also then move around the mouse up to the time you're happy with the length, or either you would be able to just type the length, let's say 100, and press enter, and also click once on the mouse. Then automatically you have the line. Next to it, you would be able to see an icon for the arc. And the arc, there are two methods of doing that. The one that actually run by 2 points. And so that's the first point, that's the second point, and you would be able to make an arc. If I want to make an arc in here, I would be able to do 1, 2, and I will be able to make the arc here as well. There's a different ways of making an arc, and that's the one with the center. What you do, the first point is the starting point, the second point is the center of it. So what you do, it's, if you have a look, then you will see that actually you're technically the center is driving everything. So we'll do it again with this one. The first is where do you want to have the center. For instance, let's me delete this one. And let's say I want to have this one as a center. So what I will do, I'll go with the arc. We'll choose the point in the middle and the second point. And now I would be able to draw a half a circle or even something like that. So that's the arcs. The circles, the same things. I was saying that you can either have them, let me delete this one, by the 2 points, a center, and the point that you're going to finish, which technically drive the radius or diameter of the circle, or you would be able to just do it with 3 points that you want to make that circle. So these are all the different methods you will be able to do, and you will experience it once you get involved in designing parts. You will find out which one is better for you. There is no right and wrong way of doing it. It's just completely what you prefer to do. The next to it is the point. So sometimes you want to find a specific point to draw something. So then you have to use the point. Let's say you want to just find a point in here. So what you need to do, just click on the point, and just whenever in the curve, or in here in this case is line, you just click once, and then you will be able to create a point. So this is how you would be able to do a point and create one. So even you can just leave it anywhere you want, and as you can see, the automatic dimension is trying to just locate a dimension for me, so I can just change these dimensions to be able to locate the point wherever I need to have that point. The other things we had, so we could go with the let me delete this line. A rectangle, it was quite simple. So there are 3 methods of doing the rectangle, if you remember. Just the normal one that most often we use this one. So you have the starting point, you have the end point that you want to draw the rectangle. That's one way. The second way was using 3 points, 1, 2, and a third point. 1, 2, and a third point. And of course, you can, if you want to have a center, so you can have the center and a second point and a third point, which technically drive the height of it. So it's a width and a height of it as well, you would be able to do. So let's say I have this one, and now if you remember, you could use a chamfer on the corners if you wanted to do a chamfer. So you click in here, that's for chamfer. For chamfer, you need to have the 2 lines that they have the intersection together. So you will say the first one and a second one, and the chamfer will actually appear, and you would be able to put a dimension wherever you want. So you would be able to just change the dimension in here. That's a chamfer. The same way, if I wanted to do a fillet, you would go to the fillet, and you just go with the, again, a corner you want to have the fillet, and you type the radius you want and click there. You automatically have the fillet. The extended version one, although you do a fillet, but still it doesn't do any trimming. So it's an untrimmed version of that. If you wanted to do a quick trimming, which means that actually there you have the points, 2 points for a curve that you would be able to, they're closed one, so you would be able to remove. So you use the quick trimming, and you easily just use those, and you would have the trim there. If you wanted to do it, yeah.
Is this being recorded? I'm having a lot of trouble staying even on the call, and I can't get NX to load up for me at all. I don't know why.
It's okay, no worries. This one is recorded, yes.
Okay, so I'll be able to go back afterwards
and
watch it again.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know
yeah,
if
sure.
I'll be able to see. Thanks so
yeah,
much.
Sure, no worries. Good. So, and with the quick extend one, if you can see here, so we don't have any lines here, but technically I would be able to do a curve here and extend those. Let's extend those there. So I want to extend this line, automatically find the next point which is available and extend it. Or if you think there are 2 lines, although they don't meet each other, but they would be able to make the corner, you would be able to go to the make corner, click there on the 2 lines that you want to make a corner. So these are all different methods of you would be able to do that. So let me finish this sketch, and I will delete it as well. And I'm gonna make another sketch. I'll go with the X and Y again. And let me draw a rectangle here. So in the rectangle, so we have other things as well we would be able to do. So sometimes you want to move a curve, and a specific curve. Let me actually draw a circle here, and you want to move it. So I try to do that one as an example for the tutor that we are doing as well. If you want to move any curve, so a curve in the Siemens NX, even a line is a curve. So whatever you have into 2D sketching, we consider them as a curve. You would be able to move it. So if you click on the move curve, and if I click on this one, so I would be able to move it around based on whenever I want to have that one. So I would be able to give the what move I'm gonna have, whether I'm gonna move a distance with an angle, a point to point, that sort of thing. So you can always move those. Also, if you have some set of the curve, you would be able to move them as well, the same things. So let's say I'm gonna choose all of them, and I want everything to be moved somewhere else. So you would be able to do that one as well if you want to do a move. Then the things that actually would be this one, I think let's go with, let me see, which one should I go? Let's go with the offset as well. With the offsetting, if you're familiar with the offsetting, so you're giving the distance a kind of width to every sort of things. So I would be able to just choose this one. And what I'm gonna tell the software, put a distance of 10 millimeter from every single side. Let's see what happens. So from every single side, we had an increase of 10. So let's have a look. This one I will make it to the 100. And this one, let's make it as a 170. Okay. And now if I go with the offsetting, let's see what happens. And so from every direction, every section, we had the 10 millimeter offset. 10 on that one, 10 in this one, 10 in this one, and 10 in this one. Technically 20 in total. So we use offsetting as well in some of the ways that actually we're gonna create those. Mirror, if you remember, so we had some set of the curves that you wanted to use something as a mirror to be able to copy it from somewhere else. And so we'll be able to do that, for instance, here. So the first one, a center line or anything which is going to act as a mirror, and then you would be able to see it automatically just mirrored on the other side of the center line. And if you notice, it automatically converts that line to the center line. From the previous session that I mentioned, we can always change an active line to the kind of deactive or center line, we call it. So you can always go there, right click, and find the convert to active, or here. If I do it as a convert to active, it become a line. If I want to make a line to a deactive or a center line, then I will be able to come here, click there, or convert it to the reference again. As you can see, a reference would be appeared by some set of the center lines that I have there. So the other thing I wanted to mention is, let's say that, let me actually change it. So let's say I'm gonna have a circle here, and I'm gonna use a feature called the pattern. So I'm gonna repeat the circles that I have in different directions. Okay. So if I want to do that one, what I will be able to do, I will be able to go to the pattern curve. And in the pattern curve, so I need to choose a curve that I want to use the pattern feature on it. So we'll go on that one. And the software tells me what is the layout you want to use. Let's go with the linear first. With the linear, I have to give a direction. Where do you want to have that circle to be repeated within a pattern? So in this one, I just choose this line as a direction for it. And it goes that side. If I wanted to do the other side, I can always click on there, which is a reverse. So we would be able to put in different directions. Then I have the count and pitch, how many of the circles I want to have. And this one is including the curve you have. So as you can see, 5 is including the one that I have. And I can put the pitch distance. Let's change it to the 30, for instance. And you can see that this one has been repeated 5 times. So I don't need to keep doing drawing the circle 5 times. And let's do it one more time here. So if you go to the pattern curve, you just choose the curve you want, a direction that you want to have it. Let's say these directions. If you're happy with that, that's fine. If you're not happy with it, so you can always reverse the directions. You put how many of it you want and what's the distance looking for. But let's say you want to have it in this direction as well. So what you need to do, you can see there's a direction to section as well in here. So you will be able to just activate the use direction to. The same thing, you have to give a direction again for it. So I'll just choose this line, and you can see that actually this one appear. So again, if I'm happy, it's okay. If I'm not happy with that, I can always click on the reverse direction to do reverse, and then how many of it I want. So in this direction, I want to have it 4 times with the distance of, let's say, 20. And if I click OK, what you can see, I repeat it in this direction and I repeat it in this direction with just using a simple feature once. But now I would be able to do it in the other way as well. So if I'm gonna go to the pattern, but this one, rather than I have it as a linear, I'm gonna use the circular. So the circular goes around. So I need to choose the curve again, but this time rather than I give the direction, I need to specify a point that are gonna goes around it. So just choose that point. So go to the select point, I choose that point, and if you can see, it goes around it. So I can see how many I want. So let's say 10, and what's the pitch angle of that? So 10 multiplied by 36, 360 degrees, and because of that, I have the full, degree for it. So if I want to have them, let's say 5, and then you will be able to see that how it looks like. So that's the pattern feature, a linear and a circular one. So that's for this one, but now let's talk about the dimensioning and what you will be able to do with the dimensioning, and also I will talk about the constraints. But before I go on, and I want to make sure that to see whether everything is clear for you or you have a question. Good. So while we are in the sketch, you can see that some of the dimensions that I put, it looks blue, and some of them the gray. The blue, that means the direction that I gave them manually, and the gray one, these are the automatic dimensions. So as I mentioned, if you don't want to get automatic dimension, let's say I'll draw a line, I get automatic dimensions, which technically the software thinks I have to find out that distance between this line and this line, the length of the line, and also the distance from that line to this line. If you want to get rid of it, what I can do, I can go to the more. So while you are in the sketching, I can go to more and stop the continuous auto dimensioning. But every single time when I'm in sketch, it would become activated. As I mentioned earlier, if you want to just get rid of that, you have to go to utilities and switch the auto dimensioning off. And let's say whatever now I draw, it doesn't give me any dimension unless I start dimensioning those. So let me finish this sketch. You can always, once you finish the sketch, you come here to the part navigator, you would be able to double click on it. So you go into the sketch. If you want to rename it, you can come here. You would be able to rename the sketch. If you want to delete it, of course, you would be able to delete it as well. So let me make the new sketch. And now technically my auto dimension is activated again because this one is the new sketch. And let me draw a rectangle. So now if I click on every single of the lines, do you see that? I would be able to move this one around. Technically, because I have the degree of freedom from these lines. So in order to prevent those, you have to either give them dimension or give them the constraints. Some of the constraints, it automatically done it for me. Do you see that these are perpendiculars? In order to get rid of those, the same things. We have also the automatic dimensioning, as I mentioned. Also, you have the automatic constraint that if you remember in the utilities, we had that option as well. So what I will show it to you again, you can go to the file, utilities, and in the sketch, inferred constraint dimension, these are automatic constraints that software think you need to use it. I would recommend to use it, to be honest, because of course, once you make a rectangle, I don't want to every single time I put it, perpendicular, right? But dimensioning, it's better to switch it off. Otherwise, it would be confusing. Okay. So now, let's say I'm going to give the dimensions. So in the dimensioning, either I can use rapid dimensioning, automatically find out what kind of dimension I'm gonna give it to it. Of course, I can use the linear for this one. If it's the, circle, I would be able to use the radial dimension, for instance, or the angle one. But let's use automatic dimensioning here, and let's say this one, I'm gonna have it by the 150. And this one I'm gonna have it by, let me see first of all, how much is it? 85. I'm gonna make it as the 80. So now if you see, I have 2 dimensions there. So if I just gonna move these, I no longer would be able to do that. So technically, I'm happy with everything. So everything is fine. And what we call it is fully constrained. It's the best way of the drawing. It's fully constrained. 2 dimensions, great, and the rest run by the constraints. But now let's talk about adding one more dimension. This one, let's see what happens. It said the sketch geometry is over constrained, and let's see what happened. They become red, which means you're over constraining. Why? Because these two are parallel with each other. Basically because they're all perpendicular, so there's no way they're not parallel with each other. And you're repeating that dimension. This is something I see a lot for the student that keep dimensioning, adding dimension in the class, especially in the undergraduate. And even for the assignments, they do the same sort of mistake. Please make sure whenever you see those red, it doesn't matter. So you may even try it. You may sometimes, okay, put a dimension. It happens for me as well. I was said, okay, it's over constrained. You need to find out what was the reason actually you become as a fully as a over constraint. So you can always come back on that one and delete it. As easy as that. We have also the under constraint, the same sort of thing. If I get rid of this one, now I would be able to use this line up and down. So this one is under constraint, and this is not a good design. Especially in the assembly, you will have a ton of issue if you have the under constraint, because you want to assemble it and something else would drive this one. So make sure actually everything is the fully constrained. Sometimes if you see, once I put a dimension, these dimension drive, but you just want to see what's the distance between 2 lines, 2 curves. What you need to do, you need to go to the measure, and in the measure, it's the exact same way of doing the dimensioning, but this one is like using a ruler. So I can say, what's the distance between these 2? And now I can say, I want the minimum distance, which is this one. I want the maximum distance, the diagonal one. So it's like exactly like a ruler. Even it give me the inner angles, I can have the outer angles as well. So it's technically like you're using a ruler. Great. But now let's talk about the constraints. So do you see these? So these are constraints that actually the software gives you. The way they looks like, these are based on the GT&T and BS8888, basically. So these are what we use as a language of the standard way of the sketching. If you go to the geometry constraint, you would be able to see I have some set of the constraint I would be able to use. If I wanted 2 things to be able to be 90 degrees, so I will use the perpendicular, of course. If there is the line, so let's do the perpendicular first, you will see. So first of all, if you want to get rid of the constraint, you can always zoom in. If you go to the constraint, right click, it will tell you about first of all a relationship. So if you go to the scan relationship, it will tell you the line 14 and line 15, they are perpendicular. So you can always see the relations. These ones, is really suitable once you have a complicated geometry and you want to sketch. You want to find out actually what the software done it for you. And if you want to get rid of it, you can always go there, hover on it, and then click on delete. And if you see, I no longer have that perpendicular. But if I want to add it manually, I will go to the geometry constraint and I'll go with the perpendicular. For any constraint you add, you have one object and a second object. You can have two objects on the tab, but of course, one group, second group. The first one is this one. Make sure for the second one, you come and choose this one and then do that. And it automatically put a constraint. If you don't do it that way, this is most of the students do it. Just click once, click second one. Do you see that both they are in the first group? You have to put them in two different groups. If you don't remember it always to doing, you can activate the automatic selections. And let's see what happens. If I go with the automatic selections, you can just choose the first one, automatically jump to the second group and the second one. You can do that. I usually don't use the automatic one because sometimes I want to have, for instance, if you want to have put something which they are parallel with each other, three of them, it's better to just make sure two they're parallel with the one. And also the first group, it always drive the rest of it. So let's say one of the students asked about the parallel one. So let's make the line here, and also I'm gonna make the line there. And what I will do, I will go to the constraint, and I will choose the parallel. Parallel is like that in the GTNT. So the first one and the second one. Do you see that? And now it looks on that. And also this one is vertical. Do you see that sign over there? That's vertical, and this one means parallel. But let's do it differently this time. I'll go to the geometry constraint. I'm gonna choose the first one and the second one. Because let me get rid of it. So let me get rid of these vertical. Okay. And but technically, I think something is driving. But technically, once you do it, the first one is always the reference. So always just use that one. The other thing that you would be able to see, do you see these lines on them? These are what we show as a degree of freedom, which means that I can move the line in that direction. Also, I can move the line in that direction as well. And let's have a look. So I can move this line on that direction. Also, I would be able to move that line in that direction as well. So these are the degree of freedom. So if I go with the geometric constraint in here, so you would be able to see that, for instance, if I choose the lines that I'm gonna use it, it will give me the degree of the freedom that I'm having. So let's say I'm gonna do a line that they don't meet each other. So let's choose this one, and I'm gonna make the constraint for them. Also, whenever you don't want to see this message, you can always click on the don't display this message. You can make the coincidence. So the first one and the second one. So the second one, I just put that one. So you can say the first one and the second one, I want that point to be the coincident. And what point did I use for the first one? So it's really important actually what point you just choose. I want these two, they meet from there. So the 2 points that you want to have the coincident. If I wanted to have it in the center, of course, the first point will be this one. So you will have the coincident. If I want the center of it with the center of this one would have the coincident, you can just choose the first point as second. The other thing, let's make a circle. And whenever I want to draw a line, because I have activated the automatic constraint, whenever I'm going to get near to the circle, do you see that sign appear? That sign means tangent, so it becomes tangent. We use it a lot. So you can either just rely on that, and you see that sign means that actually they meet each other and also they're tangent, or if I do Control Z, let me draw a line, and then I can come back with the geometry constraint, and I'm gonna tell the software I want a circle with that line to be the tangent with each other, for instance. So if you have the two circles and you want them to be concentric, which basically they have the same center, let's throw it like that. You can go here to the geometric constraint. You can go to the concentric, and I will say this circle with this one, I want to be the concentric. So they will have the same sort of center. The rest, so if you want the two lines to have the equal length, use this one. If they're the two arcs, you want to have the same radius, just use this one. If there is a line which is vertical, you see that actually this is what I was showing there. Just choose this one. If it's the horizontal line, we just choose this one. So these are the alignments. So once there are two lines, you want to align the horizontally or vertically, or you want to tell it's the horizontal line and also it's a vertical line. So these are activated automatically. Let's have a look. So if I draw a line like that, that's the vertical automatic constraint for me. And if I'm gonna do a horizontal, let's do it like that, and I get the automatic constraint. So most of the time, that's why I'm happy with the automatic constraint. So these are the things that actually software is doing it for me there. Great, so we've done the dimensioning, we've talked about the constraint and also difference between the over constraints, the under constraints. So let's now talk about the feature that we used last time, that's extrude. So let me get rid of that sketch. I'm gonna create another sketch with a normal rectangle. And an extrude, even in SolidWorks, the people who are familiar with it, they call it extrude. You have to just choose a closed curve that you're gonna have it. So just choose this one. And you can see it also appear for me. So if I want to change the dimension of that, either I can just drag the mouse, or I can just type in the dimensions that I'm gonna have. Let's say 25. But if I go to here, I can say whether I'm gonna give the value to it, which is this one, for instance, with the length of 25. I can say I want it in both directions to make it as a symmetrical to be 25. So 25 on the top, minus 25 on the other side. And if I go to the value, do you see that? Minus 25 in one direction, 25 in the other direction. If you don't want to be symmetrical, just go to the value and put 0. So you will have the direction toward it. Also, you would be able to click on the until selected. So if there is the another face, so this is something in future we'll do it once we're gonna play with the two parts. You will be able to choose the other face and say extend it or extrude it until that face, or you would be able to see just extend it to another object, the full object that I'm gonna give it to you. But if you go with the here, do you see that? There is an arrow underneath. If you click on there, so you have the more options. The first thing is the booleans. So we have different kind of the booleans. The booleans, we have unite, subtract, intersect. And this is the tiny bit difference between this one and the SolidWorks. So let's say I have this one, and I'm gonna do another extrude. So I need to just draw again. So just this one quickly, but of course in the next few sessions we'll just do it. I won't explain what I'm doing, but I just want to tell you what it is. Extrude this one. Okay. So what you're seeing here, I have the two different sketches, two different extrude, and they're not connected with each other. If you want to make them into the one part, so I would be able to go to the boolean and tell them I want it to be unite, which means one simple file. And now if I go to here, and if I go with the where was the filter, I want to go with a solid body, I would have one solid body, whereas previously I had the two solid bodies. So these are booleans. Don't worry about it. This is something we'll put it under practice in future, but it's good to know. But now let's go back to the normal extrude, and I'm gonna talk about the different options we have in the extrude. The other one we have is draft. So with draft, I would be able to put a drafting on it, give a direction. Let's say I'm gonna do it from a start limit. Let's put it 35, and let's see what happens. Do you see that? So you're giving the angular extrude. This is something you would be able to do it with the drafting. Okay. There is another way of doing that. So you can see we have from the start limit. Also, you can have the sections. Once you have the other part, so you would be able to just find a section and start the sectioning it. There is another thing that is important, is something we call it offset. This one is a full extrude. Let's see what happens if I do a single side offsetting, and I'm gonna show the result to you. Let me choose the two-sided one. So what's going on in here, I'm using the two-side offset with a distance of 5 mil. So 5 mil from that direction, I will add 5 mil to the other direction, see what it happened. So let's the software run it. Oh yeah, because this one is closed. Because I have the closed loop, it doesn't let me to do it. So you would be able to do the offsetting. I'm gonna show you something else as well to you. You will be able to see when you need to actually use those. We use it a lot. For instance, if you want to you make an L shape rather than technically just make a line and extrude it, we use the offsetting a lot. It's something that I'll actually be covering in the tutorial. So these are the offsets. Of course, I can do the symmetrical. So 5 mil and 5 mil both direction and 10 mil. So these are the offsetting. But if I switch it off, it would be normal extrude. That is basically most of the time this is something you use. And that's for this one. But there's another thing. If you go to the extrude, we have something else, which is revolve. So let's do a revolve and talk about how the revolve works. Let me just make a simple sketch, and then I will do a revolve on it. Okay, so let me draw a line here. I don't give the dimensions, I'm just gonna do something simple. Go up, down. Okay, let's go up, and that's it. And let me make an arc between these two. No, this type of arc I'm looking for. Okay, this is tangent as well, so it looks nice. And I'm gonna do a revolve which goes around that axis. So if I go with the revolves, so I have to choose the first curve that I have, the full curve. I have the full sketch. I'm gonna give the vector that I'm gonna use. So I'm gonna use this one as a vector and see what happens. So I just use the revolve feature. If I want to change that one, this one is a full 360. Let's make it 270 so you can find out what's going on with it. And that's the revolve. So we have extrude, we have revolve, we have extrude cuts as well that I've mentioned last week for you. I will do it again as well for you here, which you call it in here extrude subtract. So everything is happy with what I covered for the constraint, dimensions, and also revolve. Please ask your questions. I'm gonna pause the recording so you can ask your question, and then we'll start 2 tutorials with each other. Okay, so I'm gonna do a quick sketch and make a rectangle, extrude. And let's say you're gonna do a cut on this one, for instance. So if you want to cut something, then the session is now being recorded. Okay, if you want to do a cut, so what you will to do, you have to first have a sketch, and the sketch needs to have the plane first to do. So you go to the sketch, the software asks you to choose a plane. So I'm gonna say on the plane, but rather than I choose the plane, I'm gonna use the faces that I have here. Let's say this face, and I use invert. Technically, just use that face as a plane. We'll do this one. So we talk about the planes later, but it's okay. So let me draw a circle here, and I will finish the sketch. If you see the sketch that I have is on that face. Do you see that? It's in that face. And now if I want to do a cut, the difference between this one and SolidWorks, probably the one that worked with the SolidWorks, over there we have extrude cut, easy one. But here we don't see an extrude cut because you're saying it's the extrude cut, right? So it's technically extrude. They are putting them in one group. So if you go to the extrude, if I choose the, let me get rid of the sketch first. If you go with extrude, let me choose the sketch first. And then if I go with extrude, you can see it's technically extruding that one for me. So I choose the curve and the normal extrude. So if I want to have another extrude, it's this one. But then if you want to have the cut, if you go to the Boolean, the second one is a subtract. And now you choose the body you want to do cut in here, which is this body. Automatically done it for me because it knows that actually I have two bodies. And if I click, oh, sorry, the direction. And then you need to have the direction as well. So you can either specify a vector, or you can always just bring this one and go down. Click OK. So it's the extrude cut, or extrude subtract, we call it here. But let's go and see what are the features you would be able to have. Again, like a normal extrude, you would be able to put the dimension for the length of the extrude you have. Let's put 25. And if I click OK, so if I go here, do you see where I'm going? The design that I have, it's a shaded with edge. So if I go there, I can just change it to the static wireframe, and you will be able to see how much cut you have the inside. Or if I want to come back with the shaded with edges, you can just go there. So I will go back to the extrude. That's one way of doing it. But again, like the one I was saying, so let me go with a simple one. Then once we go with the extrude cut later, I will do more of that for you. Or of course, then I would be able to just tell the software you can see the until next, and then until next, it automatically find out that's the next one for you. So you just do a cut there, or I can tell through all, just cut it through the whole design. So we need to put them on practice, and I will talk about them later once we are talking about the planes. Great. So now let's go on with the tutorials. So first of all, in order to access those, I'm gonna show the where is it on the canvas. So if you go to your module, this is something I mentioned in the last session. If you go to the home page, you need to go to the design, communication, and 3D CAD modeling. This is what we are covering in this semester, TB1. And you would be able to go to the different sections we have. So what we are doing, it's the parametric modeling. Technically, whatever we do in the 2D 3D CAD, we call it parametric modeling because it's the full way of doing it. Although we doesn't go to the parametric right now, we'll talk about it later. If we go to the parametric modeling, and if you go to the tutorial sections, I've uploaded the files every time I deliver a session. I uploaded presentation files for you there. If you go to the tutorial files, NX models, you go to the box, you have the chapters. The first session I delivered the 2 chapters for you. This one I'll also deliver the 2 chapters for you. So if you go there, you can see a PDF version there. So if you have a look, this is something that I went to talk about: under constraints, fully constraints, over constraints, and so on. So I've talked about the different methods of the different constraints you would be able to do, and also the dimensioning. The first tutorial, we done it last week, but this one, of course, it's with adding constraint. Even I've tried to do it with constraint last time. But let's do this one. Okay, so please access to your desktop anywhere and try to draw this. So I'm gonna pause the recording. I'm gonna give you 15 minutes. I think I will be fine. And also I will be here to answer your questions. So try to do that one. So I'm gonna keep this page for you, so you'll be able to use the same dimension that you have here. Great. The recording, so I will go through it, but of course I will give you for a couple of minutes more. So probably your Michael, probably you're far away from the main axis. So what you need to do, let me show it again. If you're in here, just click here, fit. So it always bring it to the place that you will be able to see the main axis and main origin. Good. So there are different ways you would be able to do this one. So if you can see here, we can assume that was a full circle and we trimmed one. So I can say I would start by sketching that circle, and then I would then draw two lines that they're tangent with each other, and then draw that line, draw this line. I will repeat the same things in here, and then I will draw another circle, tangent, tangent, another circle, and also I do a trim. Or even you can say, I'll draw a line, I will draw another line, and also make an arc between these two. So there are different ways that you would be able to actually show the you would be able to actually sketch it. Sorry. So it's still not working. So what do you mean actually you don't see? Let me actually see. You don't see this one. And let me go to one of the sketches I have. Let me deactivate it. Which means you don't see this one, right? Yeah. So if in case, so if you do a fit, it will just bring it activate that one for you anyway. And without the coordination system, we cannot draw it, because if you cannot delete this one. Did you delete anything? I don't want to go through it right now, but technically here you would be able to make a data and coordination systems as well. But let's go ahead with the default one right now. That I didn't want to go with this one, but in future we'll cover it. Great. So in order to do this tutorial, I need to create a new file. I need to rename it to the one I have. Let's put it as the tutorial 2, and then of course I have to save. You have to save it on your local drive. I'm happy with this one because I'm connected to my actual machine in university. So now I have to choose the plane I'm gonna sketch. I'm happy with the X and Y, so I will go with a sketch. I will just choose the default one, X and Y, and I'll go there. So let's first draw a line to make sure everything's centered. Simple line. And also let me make sure I switch off the auto dimensioning as well. Okay. And let me get rid of that dimension. So I will just deactivate that line or convert it to the reference, let's say, because I want to just use that line as a reference. You don't have to, but I think it would be easier to do that. And then I have the circle in the middle of it, and that circle had the radius of 10. Let me get rid of the rest of the slides so you don't confuse. Okay, so we have the radius 10. Just draw circle here with the diameter 20 or radius 10. As you can remember, if you double click on this dimension, you would be able to just have it as the diameter or radius. I'm gonna go with the radial because the example was saying that it has a radius of 10. And then I have the two lines, and those two lines, they are tangent and they are parallel with each other, and also it's from the middle of it. So if I come up, it will give me the directions as well. So it's a tangent line, and also the same thing, it's a tangent line from here as well, and then sorry, tangent line from here, and then I just draw it. So what I know, these are tangent. If you can see the signs, and also both, they are the horizontal lines. This is the automatic constraint done it for me. Then I have the two lines that goes up. It was the same things, goes from here as well. And then I had another line goes in that direction. I had another line that goes in that direction. Both, they're horizontal. So I had horizontal line, vertical, and vertical, and automatically the software done the constraint for me. But I have few dimensions that I'm gonna apply to it. So I know this one is 20, and the distance between this one and this one is 30. But I'm sure if I do add one, technically I become the over constraint because I already give the radius to this one, right? But we'll try it. That one is 20, this line is 20, that line is 40. Good. So this line, I had it as a 40, so I go with a rapid dimensioning. I just do one. Let's say the upper one. So this one is 40. And what else I had? I know that this one was 30. No, sorry, 20. Yes. And also it was saying that distance between these two, they are 30. Do you see that? The software tells me now I'm the over constraint. It's quite simple because I give that 10 millimeter radius to this one. This one is 10, this one is 20, this one will become 30. So I can just delete that one if I don't need it. And then what else I know? Also, I knew that line had the length of 20 as well. So just bring it up here to make it as a 20. And yes. So as you can see here, and I didn't give any dimension, what I'm gonna use the constraint. So I'll go with the geometry constraint, and I'm gonna tell the software for the equal length. I would say the first line I have on the top, they have the same length with this one. And this one, small one, it has the same length with this one. You see that? Okay. So great. What else? Also, these two, they have to be the same as well. So I do the geometry constraint equal, and this one with this one is equal. So everything is symmetrical. And what I will be able to do, then I will continue with the rest of the sketch. What I knew, I had the another circle with the radius of 10. Just draw a circle here with the diameter 20 or radius 10. And also these lines were connected, but they were tangent to this one. So it's a tangent and also a tangent. You can see they are tangent with each other. I know that actually the distance between this one and the center of this one is 80. So go with the rapid dimensioning. This distance with this one is 80, which technically drive that one. And what else? I had a circle in the middle with the diameter 12. Diameter 12. Great. So technically I'm finished, but something I think it's good to consider that I didn't see that line, because I want to do extrude, right? The curve should be closed. So I need to do a trimming. I use the quick trimming. I use the the normal trim I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna get rid of this one, get rid of that one. Also gonna get rid of this one as well. So everything is fine, and I would be able to finish the sketch, go to the extrude, and extrude this one with the extrude with a distance of 25 and click OK. And you can see that I've extruded the model based on what I was looking for. Something that it's everything is fine now, everything is fine, but something's bothering me. I'm far from the coordination systems. And the reason I'm designing that way, that I'm far from coordination system, because I'm going to talk about the move curve. Do you remember actually we're talking about move curve feature? So let me deactivate that extrude. Whenever you want to deactivate something, do you see that icon? You can just click on it. So just deactivate it. It still is there, but it's deactivated. I don't say. If I go to the sketch, then I would be able to move that one. So what I will be able to do, I will go with the move curve. I just choose everything, and let's see whether, or even I can do let's do the other one. Let's do the don't want to do offsetting, offset curve. What else? The icon of this one. Let's do the offset move, and let me choose everything. And now I'm gonna just put the distance of, let me see what this one is. I think is offsetting, right? Yeah, this one is offsetting. Okay, but technically, let me see whether it lets me to move it here. You don't have to, but it's something that actually was bothering me, so that's why I'm trying to see why it doesn't let me move this one. It shouldn't let me to move that one. This one is 40. This one is, the distance is between this one is okay, and I would be able, I would be able to move that one. So technically that circle drive it. You don't have to do it, but always you can just bring it down, or you can just bring it here to make sure that it's in the center. You don't have to. This is what I was saying, but it was bothering me why it's not in the center. That's it. And you can have it that actually it's in centered. So you need to find out actually which one is driving your sketch. And that was it. So it's quite simple, one that actually we've done. Again, you might say, I want to do it differently. You might say, okay, I don't want to have that circle in the middle. So what you need to do, once you extrude it, then you cut these. Or you want to say, you're going to extrude everything and you cut this one and cut that one. Technically, you're doing two more features. But that was the simplest way we could do that, and that was the easiest way that we could do it within a short period of time. Good. So I'm going to give you another one. This one is a revolve, but it's a little bit, it's not tricky at all, but you have to pay attention to the dimensioning and also about the constraint as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you 10 minutes time again. This time it's more, but I'm going to give you 10-15 minutes. I will give you this time, so we will then do it quickly together. So let me pause the recording and please start doing this tutorial, which is the third one. So you just sketch that and then you do a 360 revolve. Do that one for you. Great. So let's go to the Siemens NX, and I will create a new file again. We are doing a modeling. Make sure you name it, save it in where you need to save, because I'm gonna use the Z-axis to do a revolve around it. A Z-axis to go a revolve around it. The first sketch I do, I use the X and Z plane. This one. I'm gonna click OK, because I want to, my sketch goes to around the Z-axis. So what I had, I remember that actually I had a line here, a line there. Okay. Let me make sure I will switch off the auto dimensioning as well. So I have this one, I have that one. let's go and see. So the length of the line that I have, this one is run by that. So it's technically the diameter of that one. So the length would be 60. And also that length would be 35 because I have the diameter of 70 on the top. So it would be 35 and 60. This one is 60. And the line on the top, I will just leave it later. But the height of it, what was the height? It's 150. So that one becomes 150. Good. Then I had a line which goes with an angle. So just draw it like that. And what I know about the line, I know the length of it is 12. And I know the angle between that one and the line I have is the 117. So let me draw a line here as well. And what I know is the length of this one, or I can say the distance between these two is 12, because that was angular. So the distance, this one was 12. And what I know that angular was 177. Sorry, 117. 117. Good. And also make sure this one is the horizontal. Other one, this line would move as well. So it's automatic. Of course, once I draw it, it automatically gave me that one as well. So that's the distance between these two. And what else I have to draw is an angular line with the angle of 77 and the length of, what was the length of it? It didn't give me any length. Okay. Yeah, then we'll of course, yeah, because this one is 30, this one is 40. Technically, this one is the rest. 150, so 110. Okay, so let's go with that one with the 77. So we'll just draw a line. Just draw it like that. I will tell the solver angle between this one and this one from the outside. So that angle is 77. Good. And then what I need to do, I have another line there. Didn't give me anything in terms of the angle. Just do another line. Do you see that? It gives you a hint. Make sure it doesn't reach there because they are not the same length. So I just do it like that. And unless they are exactly the same point. No, they are not. That one is 30. Good. And then I have a vertical line with the length of 40 that should reach this one, the top one. So let me draw this one. If you remember, that one was 35, 0. And I have the line that should meet this one. Do you see that? But this one doesn't, it's not vertical. Whereas this one, it should be vertical. Technically, if I make this one as a vertical or this one as a perpendicular, it runs the length of it. And that one was 40 as well, right? 40. So what I will do, I will just use rapid dimension, say this distance, and this one was 40. And also, do you see that? I will be able to move this around. The reason, because there is no constraint over there. So I'll go with the geometric constraint, and either I can this one as a vertical, or I can just make it as a perpendicular. Let's do the vertical one. It's simple. Great. So I've done that one. I've done this one, this one. Everything seems to be fine. Let me have a look of what I have there. That one as well. Yep. And now I do the finish. I finish the sketch. I go to the revolve. and I choose all the curve that I have. I will say I want it to goes around the Z axis, full 360, and done. And I have the full revolve. You say it's quite simple, but you have to just learn what are those things. Do you remember, for instance, when I was talking about, for instance, that one is vertical, the way that this one drive the rest. So all you will learn with practice. This is not something that I would be able to teach you in person. These are all you would be able to learn with practice. And whatever time you spend for CAD this year, it would help you a lot, because the next year you have the individual project, you have the group project. The individual project is basically your dissertation. Is really important to do, and all they're CAD based. And the majority of them are CAD based. I won't say, because you can take them for instance mechatronics, but basically they're CAD based. And if you know CAD this year, probably then you would be able to use the same sort of concept on the rest of softwares. You can do it on the SolidWorks, CATIA, whatever, or even within Siemens NX. Great. So that was it for the 2-day session. And if you go, I've uploaded these for you. If you go, I put 2 more exercises for you. This one is quite simple. You can see it's the normal, cubic shape. Then you have the circles over there with these dimensions. Just do a normal extrude, and you can do this one as well, which is a line, and then the best way I think you can do it is a full circle, tangent line, tangent line, tangent line, tangent line, and then you will do a fillet there, and here and here is fine, and then you just put 2 circles and extrude. These are quite simple. That's why the time is 15. Please do that, so you would be able to just continue with the rest of the sessions once we do, so we become more professional about what you're doing. And also, please let me know if in case you have any kind of question. Hope that you like the way that I'm teaching. So it's a kind of working together, and I will highly recommend you to please spend some time to go straight. And also the next time you're coming, if you have a stable connection, try to connect to the virtual machine. That's the best way you can feel like a kind of in class teaching. Otherwise, it's okay. You can always come back to the video, but make sure you watch this video and practice at your own time. I'm seeing actually one of your friends is typing. Yes, exactly. Yeah, trimming. Yeah. I haven't. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Technically, fillet. I haven't covered the fillet yet. So on the surface, yeah, trimming. You can do the trimming and the filleting. Yeah. But it depends. So for instance, I think that's a good question. Let me say. So first of all, there's no right or wrong way of doing in the CAD. So it depends what kind of processes you need to go through it. But basically, what you're doing, you can always say that. Okay, let me draw a line, and you can say, for example, the first tutorial we've done. What I've done was technically a circle, and I've connected the lines together. Then I've done the trimming, right? So this is basically what I've done. You might say, no, I prefer to do it this way. I prefer to do it that line, a line, and then if they have the same length, so I will do and make the arc, and then I will make like that. No difference. It's a different way of doing it. Of course, you can do that way as well. The reason I wanted to make sure actually the radius is correct, but you always can come back and then put the radius in this. So the way that I went for the full circle, because I wanted to show you to you how you will be able to move that circle, and technically that circle drives everything. So these sort of things completely depends on you. Nobody in business, in industry, nobody check that. As long as your design is accurate and complete, that's fine. What method you use, they don't care. They just prefer you just spend less time and also more accurate way. Great. So that was it from me. Hope you enjoyed the session and hope you learned something new from me. And so please keep in touch and ask any question you have regarding these tutorials. And I will see you next time. Just saying that some of your friends is typing. Thank you so much for saying. Thanks a lot, everyone, for staying with me and spending your evening with me. Thanks a lot. Have a lovely evening. Take care. Bye-bye.